Last night, 6 Democratic presidential hopefuls took the stage in Iowa for that 7th primary debate.
Joining us with his analysis on how the candidates performed is Senior Advisor for the Bernie Sanders campaign, Chuck Rocha. Great to see you, Chuck.
Good morning.
Morning,
Happy
Chuck.
morning after. We're all happy this morning.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy.
How was that? How did that feel last night? How did that go for you?
You know, I was saying before we get on air, yesterday was a busy day in the campaign, right? So we're working, it's GOTV time, it's GOTC time. We're putting together phone scripts, we're putting together mail, we're putting together all kinds of digital ads, we're interacting with people. And I'm not in Iowa, I'm here with y'all. And I head to Iowa this weekend for the final GOTC push for the last 2 weeks. There's lots of dry runs that you have to do to get ready to get out thousands of people all at one time, all in one location. It's crazy logistically. Like, I'm gonna be a party planner when this is all done. But you know, it was good last night, and we did well. It was a little disappointing. Obviously, there's all this stuff with Warren and Bernie, and people loving to talk about it. And you know, I was feeling it myself personally. I've been doing this for 31 years, and I went on Twitter yesterday, and if you saw the video, I was telling all of our team around the country, I was like, let's stay focused. Like, we are doing amazing. And take it from the old man who's running a lot of things on the back end here that I've seen this all before. And this is what happens when you're winning. And this is what happens when you're on top. And this is not going to be easy. And they're going to continue. If it's not Elizabeth Warren, it'll be somebody else. There will constantly be somebody coming after us. And we're used to that with corporate media, don't get us wrong. And seeing what happened last night with some of the moderators on CNN I thought was pure disgust. And calling my senator, my friend, a liar when he's talking to you face to face. But we have to rise above that. And what really makes us different is not only the money in the grassroots fundraising, but it's literally the grassroots infrastructure of all the people out there. When he says not me, us, that's not something quirky. That's real. And it's not just real on Twitter. It's real on the ground in Iowa. And that's what I try to stay focused on when I get angry myself.
Sure. So, Chuck, take us into now that the debate is over, you've got 19 days till the Iowa caucuses. We got into this with Brianna last night. The impeachment planning. How is that going to go with Bernie stuck in Washington 6 days a week? You're going to have surrogates fanning out across Iowa. I mean, are you going to be able to capture that momentum and keep it despite the fact that the entire national media and Bernie are going to be stuck here in D.C.?
I'm going to speak a little truth, and it's not going to be sexy for folks that love presidential politics. But when your candidate runs from place to place and they have rallies, and we're really good at them, and we have lots of people show up.
Huge rallies,
right. But that's not the reason you win the Iowa caucus. There's not a lot of people who's sitting in their farmhouse in some rural place in Iowa who's going to go to that rally. Right. Because network TV's not covering it, they're not going to see that rally. So what they are going to see is somebody knocking on their door, somebody calling them, us sending them a text message, friend to friend, me sending them a piece of mail talking about where we stand on these trade issues, where we stand on farmers' issues, and those micro-targeted, really get and talk to people is where this thing's won. But the infrastructure of caucus night, of what we were talking about, is the key. With him not there, it's almost, this is crazy, a little bit better. Because when he's there, it takes so many resources around him to move him, to get the press there, advanced teams, which we have a whole infrastructure built for. But now we can really concentrate and not be distracted by anything. There'll be a lot more surrogates there. I'm heading there this weekend, and I'm staying to step in wherever I need to step in and speak wherever I need to speak. But the infrastructure of making sure that 1,680 precincts all have a captain and all have somebody showing up who, for the next 2 weeks, are calling all the people that they know will be there and go, don't forget, Crystal, we got the thing coming up next Monday. Have you got a plan for somebody to watch Little Johnny? Do you have things worked out to get a ride there? Like, we're working through those mundane, non-sexy parts of the campaign, which is the reason you win.
Well, and on that note, so you have the people who basically run the precincts, who are in charge of the strategy within the room. So if one candidate, say Elizabeth Warren, doesn't meet viability, that 15% threshold, and her supporters have to go and find another place, you've got those people who are making the case to them to try to get them on board. How does that all play out? How do you figure out the strategy? How do you advise if there are precincts where Senator Sanders doesn't meet that viability threshold, who his delegates should go to? How does that all work?
It's a mathematical, I can't even say it. It's an equation that we come up with based off of performance scores. So we've spent the last year talking to every voter who we think will caucus, and then trying to open up new doors to get new people to come into caucus. And when we have a conversation with them, we grade them. We mark them. Crystal, you like Bernie. You don't like Bernie Sagar. Like, you get a 1, you get a 5, you get a 3, somebody's leaning. And over the course of almost a year, we've continued to have a conversation. So we have a pretty good idea. It's not science, but we have a pretty good idea of how many people are going to show up at each caucus and how we should do based off of a model on how well and this is how everybody's doing it. They can do it at different scales. We can do it at the biggest scale. I will tell you, in the last Iowa caucuses, from all the people that we have ID'd against Hillary Clinton, there were still 30,000 people that showed up that we didn't have have an ID for, who had saw our TV commercials, who had been to a rally, who had gotten a piece of mail, who we may not have been able to have a one-on-one conversation with. That's that grassroots. When Bernie Sanders talks about getting new people to participate, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, so Chuck, talk to us about the commitments to caucus. How many new entrants do you expect to see for Bernie this time around? As in new people into the process, new people who didn't caucus for him in 2016? Because I think Bernie and Trump share very much this phenomenon of bringing in voters that people just don't know how to poll. People don't really understand them and their voter preference. But based on your inside knowledge, what do you expect to see?
So let's keep in mind, the last time we did this, it was just 2 people. But now it's spread across 8 people. Right. So we really don't have to get that many new people because now you're spread out. We know we're going to have a drop-off of folks.
Right.
So we're expecting, experts will say, maybe 180,000 people. That's where we started this thing, would come out in caucus based off of Obama numbers and turnout last time. After being on the ground there, people are pushing this thing up to 220, 230, 250,000 people may show up. The more people that show up, we honestly really think that that's good for the center because we're opening doors in one of the few campaigns that are doing it. I'm going this weekend, and on Saturday, I'm going to participate in a Spanish language caucus training in Des Moines, Iowa. When's the last time somebody's done a Spanish language caucus training in the middle of a soccer tournament in a Latino part of Des Moines? These are the new integral things that we're doing, working directly in the community. When I said we listen to the community, empower the community. These are what we're doing because some of the barriers of the caucus, because it's not a state-run operation, is language. So we have to provide, the state party has to provide their own translators. So we're trying to make sure we break down the barriers to make people not feel like they're intimidated and say, this is easy to do. Let's walk through the process right here amongst our friends. And that's one of the secret weapons of what we're doing in the state.
Well, and you've been an integral part of Sanders' campaign's Latino strategy. It's one of the things that the media has been sleeping on is, while they're out there trying to claim that, it's just white men who support Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, he has the highest numbers of any of the candidates among Latinos. How did you build that out? How did you do that communication? How did you lay out the plan? And where does it really matter?
It matters a lot in Iowa, and it matters a lot in South Carolina and Nevada. And I used a simple philosophy that I've been trying to tell folks. I've been the activist on the outside, like throwing rocks at campaigns by saying you walk away from people of color, you come in late, it's disrespectful. Republicans spend a lot more time trying to figure out than Democrats do. So now they invited me in, Anna Lilly in, lots of people of color in. And so I used a simple philosophy of the number one reason Latinos don't vote is they don't get asked. And I talked to the senator, especially Jeff Weaver, who's empowered us to do all of this work, of going and asking. And the more we ask people, building off the momentum of what we had last time, we realized that the message that Bernie Sanders has really resonated. So we started getting broader and broader and just building that coalition out. And that means multi-layered communications, because every Latino, this is the cultural competency piece, and Brown Consultants matter, because old Latinos in Iowa are looking at Spanish newspapers. Young Latinos like my son are listening to Pandora, digital ads. So we advertise to them at every level in Iowa to make sure we did leave no stone unturned. But the key to that is we started 8 months ago, and I couldn't talk about it really till now because I didn't want all the other campaigns to know what we were doing. But we've spent almost a year talking to Latinos in Iowa to make sure that they knew about Bernie's message. Then we ID'd them, and now we're going to turn them out.
So, Chuck, now, final question here. Take us through the map. So it's not just Iowa. So we've got Iowa, then we have New Hampshire, then we have Nevada. What keys do you expect to start turning when things go quickly? And what part of the infrastructure are you prepared to see really kick into gear when that happens?
Everybody's trying to figure out how they're going to get money to do Super Tuesday, right? So it all leads to that. That's why everybody thinks they have to win Iowa and they have to win New Hampshire. We're going to do well there, and I think we're expected to win both of those. But what you start seeing is big movements. So you have people that have all of this staff, like Pete, like Elizabeth in Iowa. When it's over, what do you do with all of that? You have to shut that operation down, then you have to either lay people off because their contracts are over, and a lot of people get laid off in all the campaigns, and then some of your best of best probably will move on to other states. Then it becomes this logistical nightmare of moving people and resources quickly, to your point, all around the country to move them in places where you have the strengths and where you didn't. The last time in Iowa, we moved a whole bunch of people to Oklahoma. People are like, why are you moving to Oklahoma? Well, Jeff Weaver had the foresight to be able to know to do that, because guess who really liked Bernie Sanders? If you're a Democrat in Oklahoma, you're a Bernie Sanders Democrat in Oklahoma. And that's why he won it. So that's part to your strategy piece of where do they go and how many, right? So that's going to be a big part of moving resources, people, and figuring out what that Super Tuesday strategy will be.
Well, and you guys have already had one go at it, so I'm sure there were a lot of lessons learned there as well. Chuck, always appreciate your insights.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you,
appreciate it. Next on Rising, Communications Director for the Trump Campaign 2020, Tim Murtaugh joins us with his reaction to the Iowa showdown.